Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a brand new product that actually just dropped from SBD, and this is going to be their new 7mm powerlifting knee sleeves. Basically they revamped their product from their original knee sleeves, which I've been using for many years at this point, and they made some tweaks to hopefully improve it and improve some of that stability throughout the lift. So I've been fortunate enough to give this a try on my own over the past week and a half or so before the release, so that I can give you all my thoughts. So we're going to start with the structure of the material. We'll talk about how the sleeve feels. We'll actually weigh it to compare to these older sleeves, and then you'll get to see some of my training. I'll let you know how I put these sleeves on and what I thought actually getting to try some heavy training in these. All right, so first impressions of these sleeves. Whenever I took them out of the box, the first thing I noticed was I felt the weight difference. I was like, these things are hefty. And I have not weighed them yet, but I'm pretty confident that they are significantly heavier than the traditional knee sleeves. Now, I have to be careful in saying that. Just because something's heavier doesn't always mean that it's better. But what that can tell us is if it's in the same dimensional profile as another pair of knee sleeves, then that could mean there's more material in there. It's a more dense form of neoprene, and that could potentially give us some more support. And I think that's what SBD is going for here. The second thing that I noticed was the texture of the sleeve. So if you can kind of look at the texture there, hopefully the camera focuses for us. Yep, it has a very almost like woven texture, kind of cross-hatched, and we'll compare that. I have the traditional knee sleeves, just very smooth covering on the outside. And SBD has stated that their goal with these knee sleeves is actually to get as much surface area compression as possible. And I'll talk about this whenever I show some of my training footage, but I do agree that this new design helps keep the sleeve connected to as much of your knee as possible, and that's going to help with some of that proprioception when you're actually squatting. Something that you'll notice that I won't do is I'm not going to stack weights on top of this knee sleeve. I'm sure it could hold some weight, right? It's fairly sturdy, but that makes zero difference to me as a lifter, because when I'm lifting, I'm not going to be applying force this way. It is force through elastic energy and kinetic energy that we're actually going to care about. So overall, those are my first thoughts. I really like this new logo as opposed to the older SBD logo as well. The inside of the sleeve is very similar. It's familiar if you've used an SBD sleeve before. Still the same smoothness. And then as far as stretch goes, this is the original sleeve. Has some decent stretch. This is the 7mm, which I do believe they're going to keep on their site. It's just going to be slightly less supportive. Now looking at this, there's definitely less give, right? And that might be hard to convey through the camera, but you can tell just feeling it, there's less give in the sleeve. So let's go ahead and move on. We'll weigh these, and then I'll show some training footage and talk about, what I actually think about this sleeve. All right, so here I have the original 7mm sleeve on my triple beam balance here at school. These weighed out at 197 grams, which I'm not sure if SBD even lists the weight of these sleeves on their packaging. I'm sure they do, but I'm sure around 200 grams is what you could expect for those sleeves. And then looking at these new sleeves, these are 240 grams on the dot. So as you can tell, my kind of hunch was correct whenever I said they felt like they were heavier. They're about 20% heavier when compared to the other sleeves. Now, let's talk about sizing for a moment. I was sent extra large and large versions of these powerlifting knee sleeves. I normally wear larges for the original 7mm sleeves, and larges are pretty snug. I've tried to use mediums in the past, and I can pull them on after a ton of time and effort, but getting them off is a nightmare, if not impossible. So I tend to stick with larges because mediums just aren't possible. Now, with these new sleeves, I have put the extra larges and the larges through their paces, and they feel about a half of a size smaller than the original 7mm sleeves. So here you can see me pulling on the extra larges, and they take more effort than it normally takes me to put on extra large sleeves. I would say they were very comparable to the old larges. Now, whenever I put on the larges, they weren't as impossible as putting on mediums of the original style sleeves, which tells me that it's not just a one size down scenario. It's probably more like a half of a size, which for me, that's ideal because I was probably somewhere between a medium and a large. Now, keep in mind, I like to wear my sleeves tight, especially for heavy lifts and competition. So, and to give you some perspective, my calf measurement is 19.5 inches. My knees are around 18 inches, which on the sizing chart would put me probably in that XL to 2X, but I do size down for competition fit. Right, and then we're just going to close out with some sets from lifts that I had done testing out these sleeves. The safety bar squat videos that you see will be in the extra large sleeves, and then the competition squat at the end will be in the larges of the new sleeve. The biggest thing I noticed from these is actually that surface of contact area has gone up. With my original SBD sleeves, I did notice that as I got tighter and I wore the larges, they would slide down the top of my leg occasionally and kind of bunch up behind my knee. And most of the compression was where the seams are. With these new sleeves, it seems a little bit more evenly distributed throughout the knee, and they stay in place a little bit better, which I'm guessing is from the extra density of the sleeve, right? We've got more mass packed into the same amount of surface area, which I think it just allows for better contact, which for me, it feels like there's better support. And I'm looking forward to using these sleeves moving forward. I do want to answer the question of like, are you going to get carryover from these sleeves? Which I chuckle just kind of thinking this with my background in equipped lifting. You know, raw lifters, we shouldn't necessarily be looking for carryover. For me, it's more of a security thing. So these sleeves make my knees feel secure. If you all didn't know, I do not have an ACL in my right knee. So having that extra support and proprioception is a huge deal in my training. And I think these sleeves are definitely a step up. So if you are planning to do some heavy lifting or compete and get serious in powerlifting, I think spending a little bit of extra money may or may not be worth it for you for these new sleeves. I think they're a definite step up in quality, and I'm looking forward to using them in the future. All right, so hopefully that was helpful for everyone. I know these are a new drop, and I just wanted to get my thoughts out there so that you could have an extra perspective when you're thinking about maybe upgrading your sleeves or if you're going to stick with the originals. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. And until next time, happy lifting.